Iran declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. Iranian state media ran the footage on repeat. IRGC commanders gave press conferences. Every channel on this platform made the same video. Iran closes Hormuz. Global panic. Oil prices spiking. The world's most critical shipping lane under Iranian control. They are looking at the wrong scoreboard, because here is the number nobody is putting on screen. 100% of Iranian oil exports pass through Hormuz. 100%. Every barrel Iran sells to China. Every tanker loaded at Karg Island. Every dollar of revenue that keeps the Iranian government functioning. The IRGC funded. The missiles manufactured. The proxies paid. All of it exits through the same strait Iran just declared closed. Iran did not close a strait. Iran closed its own wallet. And the United States Navy is sitting outside the door watching it happen. Not because we cannot enter, because we do not need to. Every day that Hormuz stays closed, Iran bleeds. Every day we wait, the equation moves further in our direction. This is not a story about fast boats and burning tankers. This is a story about a country that built a trap and locked itself inside it, and a navy that understood the geometry before the trap was finished. If that equation matters to you, if you would rather understand the math than watch the footage, subscribe. Because the pundits are asking the wrong question. The right question is not whether Iran can keep Hormuz closed. The right question is how long Iran can survive closing it. To understand the trap Iran built and why it is now the trap Iran is caught in, you need to unfold the map and look at the geometry. The Strait of Hormuz at its narrowest point is 21 nautical miles wide. That sounds like open water. It is not. Commercial shipping does not use 21 nautical miles. It uses the traffic separation scheme. 2 designated lanes, each 2 nautical miles wide, separated by a 2 nautical mile buffer zone. 6 nautical miles of usable corridor total. Now put a ship in that corridor. A very large crude carrier stretches longer than the Empire State Building is tall. Beam 200 feet. Draft 72 feet below the waterline. You are not sailing a vessel through an ocean. You are threading a building through a hallway. And the hallway has walls on both sides. One of them belongs to Iran. Through that hallway flows 20% of the world's crude oil. 20 million barrels per day. Every single day. The fuel that heats homes in Germany. The energy that runs factories in South Korea. The oil that powers the electrical grid serving hundreds of millions of people across Asia. Hormuz is not an oil choke point. Hormuz is a civilizational choke point. And Iran controls one wall of that hallway. For 40 years, the Islamic Republic built a weapons architecture specifically designed to exploit that geography. They studied every American naval operation in these waters. Operation Earnest Will in 1987. Operation Praying Mantis in 1988. Decades of Fifth Fleet presence in Bahrain. They watched, they learned, and they reverse-engineered a layered defense designed to make the cost of American presence in the Strait higher than America could sustain. Mobile missile launchers pre-positioned in the Zagros Mountains, ridgelines, valleys, caves, tunnels carved into rock that satellite imagery cannot fully penetrate. Fast attack craft launched from island coves that number in the hundreds along the coastline. Mines seeded across the shipping lanes before the first warning was issued. Submarines small enough to hide in shallow coastal water and quiet enough to evade passive sonar. The math Iran was running was straightforward. Make the corridor dangerous enough that commercial shipping stops itself. You do not need to sink every tanker. You need to make the insurance premium high enough that shipping companies make the calculation for you. War risk insurance before the closure, manageable. War risk insurance after Iranian threats, $4 million per voyage. Commerce stops itself. The strait closes without Iran firing a single shot. That math was correct. At the tactical level, it was perfect. But Iran was running the wrong equation. There are 2 equations at Hormuz right now. The one the cameras show you and the one that actually matters. The equation on camera is about threats. Iranian fast boats, IRGC press conferences, tankers rerouting, oil prices rising. That equation fills airtime. The real equation has no footage, no explosions, no smoke. The real equation is a balance sheet, 2 columns. What Iran earns when Hormuz is open versus what Iran earns when Hormuz is closed. Run that equation. When Hormuz is open, Iran exports approximately 1.4 million barrels of oil per day. At current prices, that is revenue of approximately $100 million every single day flowing into the Iranian treasury. That revenue funds everything: the IRGC budget, the missile production lines, the proxy network across Yemen, Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria, the salaries of the Revolutionary Guard commanders giving those press conferences. Every operational dollar the Islamic Republic spends traces back to oil revenue, and every barrel of that oil exits through Hormuz. When Hormuz is closed, that revenue is zero, not reduced, not disrupted, zero, because there is no alternative route. The pipeline infrastructure that would allow Iran to bypass Hormuz does not exist at sufficient capacity to replace sea exports. The overland routes to alternative ports are not developed. Iran built its entire oil export architecture around Hormuz. There is no plan B. There is only Hormuz or nothing. $100 million per day, flowing when open, gone when closed. Now run the American side of the equation. American domestic oil production in 2023, 13.3 million barrels per day. The largest output in the history of any country that has ever existed. America is a net energy exporter. It does not need Iranian oil. It does not need Gulf oil at the volume it once did. The strategic calculus that made Hormuz existential for American interests was built in 1987, when America imported significant quantities of Gulf crude. That calculus has been changing every year since the shale revolution transformed American energy production. Here is what that means for the Hormuz standoff. Every day the strait stays closed, Iran loses $100 million. Every day the strait stays closed, America loses approximately $0 from its own energy supply. The asymmetry is not tactical, it is not military, it is arithmetic, and arithmetic does not negotiate. Now address the objection every viewer is already thinking. If Hormuz is closed, oil prices spike globally. America feels that too, even if it produces its own oil. Global prices affect everyone. The American consumer pays more at the pump. American manufacturing costs rise. The pain is not zero. That objection is correct. American consumers do feel higher global oil prices. But here is the comparison that matters. America feels higher oil prices as an economic inconvenience. Iran feels the closure as an existential fiscal collapse. Those are not the same category of pain. One side is uncomfortable. The other side cannot fund its government, its military, or its proxies without the revenue that requires Hormuz to be open. The side that is uncomfortable can wait. The side facing fiscal collapse cannot. This is the geometry that Iran did not calculate when it built the trap. The IRGC commanders standing at press conferences declaring Hormuz closed are making a threat that damages them more than it damages the country they are threatening. It is the equivalent of a man threatening to set fire to his own house to force his neighbor to negotiate. The neighbor is annoyed by the smoke. The man loses his house. Look at the numbers that make this concrete. Iranian foreign currency reserves have been under sustained pressure from sanctions since 2018. The Iranian rial has lost more than 80% of its value against the dollar in that period. Iranian inflation has run at rates that have eroded the purchasing power of ordinary Iranians to levels that have triggered repeated domestic protests. The Iranian government needs oil revenue not as a strategic luxury, but as a fiscal necessity. Without it, the budget does not balance. The IRGC does not get paid. The missile production lines do not receive raw materials. Now add the closure of Hormuz on top of an already stressed fiscal position. $100 million per day. Gone. Not for one day, not for 1 week, for however long the closure lasts. At 30 days, that is $3 billion. At 60 days, it is $6 billion. At 90 days, it is $9 billion. Against an economy that was already under severe pressure before the closure began. The carrier strike groups positioned outside Hormuz do not need to enter the strait to win this equation. They need to hold position and wait. Every day they wait, the fiscal pressure inside Iran increases. Every day the closure continues. The Iranian government faces harder choices about which obligations it can fund and which it cannot. This is the insight that most commentary misses entirely. Iran built a trap at the front door. America did not try to force the front door. America locked it from the outside. And now the trap imprisons the trapper. The mines that prevent American tanker escorts from entering the strait also prevent Iranian tankers from exiting. The missiles that threaten American destroyers in the corridor also threaten Iranian commercial vessels attempting to break the closure. The same geography that Iran weaponized against American entry is the geography that prevents Iranian exit. The strait is sealed from both sides, but the two sides experience that sealing completely differently. America experiences Hormuz closed as elevated global oil prices and a geopolitical news story. Iran experiences Hormuz closed as the elimination of its primary source of government revenue. Now run the final equation. Every day the closure continues. American carrier strike groups operate on nuclear propulsion, with global logistics chains supplying everything they need. They can maintain station indefinitely. Every day the closure continues. Iran burns through foreign currency reserves that are not being replenished. The endurance asymmetry is not close. It is not a matter of weeks. It is a structural difference between a navy backed by the largest economy on Earth and a sanctioned government whose only significant revenue source requires the strait it just closed to remain open. Iran did not close Hormuz to win a war. Iran closed Hormuz because it believed the threat of closure was leverage. The threat was supposed to force negotiation, force concessions, force America to offer something Iran needed in exchange for reopening the corridor. What Iran did not calculate is that America's need for what Hormuz provides has been declining for 15 years. The shale revolution removed the existential urgency that once made Hormuz closure an immediate crisis for American strategic interests. America can absorb elevated oil prices as a temporary cost. It cannot be forced to negotiate from a position of existential need that no longer exists. The trap was designed for an adversary that needed to enter the strait. That adversary drilled its way out of that need while Iran was still building the trap. Here is what happens next, not as prediction, as arithmetic. The closure continues until the fiscal pressure inside Iran forces a decision. That decision is not made by IRGC commanders at press conferences. It is made by accountants looking at reserve levels and budget projections, and the date when certain obligations cannot be met. When that date becomes close enough, Hormuz reopens. Not because America forced it open, because Iran cannot afford to keep it closed. The pundits will call it a diplomatic breakthrough. They will replay footage of tankers transiting, and analysts will explain the geopolitical factors. They are looking at the wrong scoreboard again. The strait reopens when the equation resolves, and the equation has only one resolution. The side that cannot fund its government without the revenue that requires the strait to be open will open the strait. Iran built a weapon pointed at its own treasury and pulled the trigger. That is not firepower. That is arithmetic. That is the difference between a threat and a calculation. And calculations do not care about press conferences. If you now see the balance sheet instead of the fast boats, if you understand why the Navy sitting outside Hormuz is winning by doing nothing, share this with someone who still thinks closing a strait is a strategy rather than a countdown timer on your own economy. And if you want to understand how Iran's proxy network gets funded and what happens to it when the oil revenue stops, that video is already waiting for you.